At first, my natural reaction was like, what? How could you? It was just time, you know, it goes by so fast. And it was just, you know, in that moment, it was like, wow, I really lived through this character for 5 years, and it's finished. It ended, I think, the way that we thought it should. That made sense for the character, it made sense for the story. It was sad at the same time. I think any death it's a tough thing to go through, you know, and I really didn't think that I was going to be as attached as I was, you know, given the time that I've spent in this business and the different characters I love. I love playing them, and then I love letting them go. But this one hung on a little bit.
Easy made his choice.
You sound like you've given up on Easy.
You haven't.
Half our brothers are murdered. Only thing you can trust E to do is get the rest of you killed too.
Just believe in me a little longer. I'm about to take this club to heights it's never seen.
I've known about the characters for quite some time. I mean, before even season 5. Elgin and I had a conversation, I think around season 3, and it was like, you know, we want to take Easy in this direction, Angel in this direction, and I was just kind of like, yes, yeah, that's exciting. It was important for me to really continue to set ourselves apart from Sons of Anarchy. As much as we come from them and we are a part of their universe, we really wanted to, especially with Easy, just show something that was opposite of Jax, because those two are, you know, constantly, you know, compared to each other. Yeah, I knew for some time. So it was definitely a secret that I had to keep. I think where it gets tough is sometimes you know, on social media, you'll see the fans and you're interacting with them, and they'll say something sometimes, and I just kind of like want to respond back. But then I'm like, oh, no, you know, for the sake of the story, you got to keep this one a secret. So Clay and I mean, we're always talking, you know, in scene, off scene, and, you know, we were having this conversation before we even started season 5, because we knew what was going to happen. So I think it was one of those things where just having those conversations allows us to, in a way, process it as human beings, and also artistically to kind of keep ourselves on the same track, to make sure that we're keeping each other accountable. I'm not showing my cards, you know, and that was very important for me.
I have to go, Easy.
Where?
I don't know. Just not here. Not dead. I'm not dead in a bar fight, or an alley, or some wreck on the freeway. I have to live for him.
When we were doing the scene, going onto the bridge, and it's this very intimate scene between Angel and Easy, at this point, season 5, I mean, we're there, you know, we're already locked in, and especially with an actor like Clay, you know, he and I can just throw it back and forth, and we're just really locked in right from the beginning. So it was an emotional day, and it was bittersweet, right? Because we also knew right before that bridge scene, we're riding on our bikes throughout the town, and somebody had said to us, like, man, this is the last time you guys are riding together. And so we were just like, oh, wow. You know, we had a moment where we were like, wow, this is sad. And then it's like, yeah, whatever, let's move. Let's go. You know, just the same thing that Clay and I would do, and then we just go do it, and then we just hop in the scene. But it's all there, and I think it's, the beauty for me is that a scene like that was so effortless just because of the time that we spent together, you know, so we were really locked in. In that moment, Easy doesn't ask his brother or try to convince Angel to stay because Easy knows what's going to happen to him. He knows the path that he's on. He doesn't necessarily know the timing of it all, but he knows it's coming, which was a big part of this season for Easy. I think that it was a moment where you could see that it crushed Easy to have him go, because this is why he's been a part of this whole time, to be a part of the Mayans with his brother. Now that it's all happening, Easy's like, yeah, go. And it hurts, but it's the right thing to do. And, you know, just do great. My conversations with the other actors regarding episode 10, I mean, it was all over the place. A part of me was just kind of like, yeah, I've been dealing with it this whole season, guys, and the past 2 seasons. You know, get over it. The other part was that finally we're kind of all on the same page, you know, emotionally, and understanding that, wow, it's one thing to know that it's ending, and it's another thing to really go through those emotions with the characters, because you are giving a piece of yourself. You know, and for me, I really had this idea where I just really wanted it to be a celebration of what we accomplished. So it was bittersweet, you know.
One of our brothers has been working with the feds. We have a rat.
They came to my house and threatened my family. We're done.
You're setting yourself up to get crucified.
When we have the Templo scene and Hank comes in, I believe it's right after Easy says, my brother and I have something to say, and Hank interrupts it. It was a really fascinating moment for me because I've always been ahead of the character. And again, this goes back to not, you know, tipping my hand in a way, because we do this for the audience. You know, I think that the day is for me, the performance aspect and how I get to look at it, and what I get to release through it, and using my imagination, and the fact that I love being an actor. That's for me. But at the same time, I'm thinking about what the audience is going to watch and what we're delivering to them. And that is the reason why we do this. For me, it was like, I want to just pull out my gun and, you know, take Hank out and stop this from happening. But I have to be within the character and within that moment and act as if, you know, Easy doesn't know what's going on. So I have to go along with it. Like, yeah, sure, what are you bringing up? You know what, you're right. We should patch our brother in. Okay, how does everybody feel about that? And I knew I was gonna have problems with that. And so I was really on Elgin, and I told him, I said, you know, you're right there watching the monitors. If I'm showing it in any way, stop it and let me know. Like, I will go back and do it again. I can't tip it for the audience, I really can't. Easy did not know that he was about to be sabotaged in the Templo in that moment, that was the end. He didn't know it.
You're a f***ing rat! That's why you made the deal. Creeper was onto you, and you had to Iron War and Storm 88. I could take out our brother to keep your secret. Put us in bed with cops.
In that last moment where Gilly's holding on to Easy and they're holding on to Angel, and yes, Easy is a very, you know, he can talk himself out of a lot of things. I mean, he's a very smart man. There was a part where, you know, as the character, I'm so locked into it. The whole purpose of Easy in this moment within this season was that he wanted to die. He realized after the death of Gabby, where he lost his soul, that death was going to come for him, and he accepted that because it was the realization that that was the only way he would be with his mother. The loss of Easy's mom was so profound. He died in prison. He died in that moment when his mom died. The connection there was so strong, and he throughout the show, you see him like searching and trying to figure and trying to grab at different things, and maybe I could be this and maybe I could be that, and it's finally this full acknowledgement of oh no, I will only have peace when I go. There's nothing for me here. And leading up to that moment, Easy is struggling with the fear of physical death. It's one thing to say, like, that's where I'll have my peace, I'm gonna finish putting the Mayans on top and then I'm gonna go, but then it's like, wow, there's such an unknown there, and as intellectual and logical as Easy is, he can't grasp that. That's the fear, right? And so there's all these moments within this last season where he thinks, well, maybe there's a chance, maybe it doesn't have to end this way. And then he's fighting, and then there's the surprise right there at the end, and he's looking at his brother, and he's being held back, and his brother's being held back, and they're threatening to kill his brother, who is the true love of his life. We try to have this moment. I was thinking about, can I find this moment where Easy stops fighting? Because he's fighting the hold, and he's like trying to get out of it, and it's just like, can I have a realization where it's like, oh, this is it. This is the moment. And then it's like, as scary as it is, it's like, no, I'm ready. There were a lot of technical aspects, you know, that had to be considered in filming that, the last scene where Easy is killed. And, you know, funny enough, we had to wait about a week before we shot that scene. So we were off like a week, and that was like the last scene that we had to shoot. There were just some, you know, technical issues going on that we just had to have some time. And getting in there, I remember thinking, like, is this too much time between this last scene? This scene is so important, how am I gonna do it? I already knew that the camera was probably gonna be right here, so I wasn't going to see anybody. I was gonna have to use the matte box and pick my spots. And so there was a moment where I was just wondering, like, am I capable of selling this important moment to the audience with everything? Because especially when the camera's that tight, you're thinking, you know, less is more, but it's still an emotional scene. And then plus I'm being held. And I think of one of the first takes we did, Rocco, who plays Gilly, was, I mean, he's a real dude, you know, and he's done a lot of law enforcement. And so when he grabbed me, like kicked my knees out, and I was like really bent over, and I think the camera was kind of looking up at my chin, and I was trying to do it. And then I just kind of stopped there. I was like, whoa, hold on, let's do it again. Give me a little bit less. And I think then in that moment, it just clicked. And I was like, yeah, this is what I do. It just came, it just came. It was the perfect ending for Easy, because it was like, it needs to be my brother. I want it to be my brother. Easy would not want to be killed by his son. That wasn't gonna happen. He wasn't, you know, not by the cartel, not by somebody on the street who has a hit out on him or whatever it is. It was interesting at first when I read that last scene of Potter's men coming in and taking over after Easy's death, and there's Bishop taking the seat again, and he's like, all right, back to business. At first, my natural reaction was like, what? How could you? Once I got away from that, it was, oh yeah, life moves on. And how, you know, selfish of us sometimes to think that, oh, we're gone, so it's gonna stop. No, time doesn't stop. It just keeps moving. I love that. As a storyteller, I loved it. I loved how everything just kind of, they assumed their natural position. Bishop takes the throne, and they're like, okay, now what do we do? And then here comes Potter, and the rest is up to the imagination of the audience, how it ends.